Whether it be a chapter officer team, a sports team, or the woodwinds in a school band, sometimes those groups can become like a family. Now after school in the fall, my family was my cross-country team. And like every family, we had some who were like the sweet and supportive grandparents of the team, similar to my coach, but then we had others who were more of the weird uncles of the team. Now to start things off, we had the older siblings of the group, myself and Josh, the team captains. Being only juniors, we were selected as the team captains because we had the most experience running, and our job was to help support our teammates while also trying to keep some of them in line. Next, we had the little siblings of the team, and Andrew and Blake. Now, Andrew and Blake were always smack-talking the rest of the team, and Andrew, in fact, was quoted in our school yearbook taking a shot at our new football co-op, saying, "Well, at least I run miles, not yards." Then we had the weird uncles of the team in Zach and Jeremiah. Now before every practice, our girls team captain Mary would move her car from the back of the parking lot to the front so she wouldn't have to walk as far after practice. So one day, Zach and Jeremiah took their cars and parked them in front of Mary's front and back bumper. So when she came out to move her car before practice, it became awfully difficult. Needless to say, Mary was not thrilled. Then, finally, we had Philip, the cousin of the team. Philip was the cousin of the team because he joined cross-country to get ready for wrestling season. Now, there were a few distinct things I remember about Philip every single day from practice. Every day, he would show up to practice in a white tank top, long black shorts, and brought with him a red Gatorade. But by the end of practice, Philip would have an empty Gatorade bottle, bright red lips, and a not-so-white tank top with red splotches here or there. But after every single practice, no matter how hard, Philip always finished a workout, and he never walked. When we got into the meat of our season, we typically had 2 races per week, one on Tuesday and one on Saturday. Now at the beginning of the season, Philip struggled. Running wasn't his specialty. But as the season progressed, he slowly closed that gap between him and the person in front of him. Now, after every meet, our guys team would go and run a cool down, and we'd come back to the bus and recognize any PRs or personal records of the day. Now, yeah, some guys had better days than others, but after every single meet, Coach would read a Philip, new PR, at his new fastest time. Philip wasn't focused on being perfect like the rest of the team. Philip was focused on his own progress to get better for wrestling season. In our modern society, we are constantly comparing things like prices at the store, which road would be faster, or what quarterback to put in our fantasy league to ensure a victory over an overly competitive family member. But when it comes to our skills and abilities, we tend to compare ourselves to people who are better than us at whatever this thing may be. We pick this person, put them up on this pedestal, and try to become like this perfect person. But then we feel ourselves let down when we can't reach this idea we created for ourselves of perfection. So then we abandon our goal and get nowhere. But if we're able to take a step back and redirect our focus away from trying to be like this perfect person, then we can begin to focus on where we were yesterday. This was the mindset that I needed to bring into our state officer retreat last December. For this retreat, me and my 4 teammates, along with our director and assistant director, would go out to a remote cabin and plan the rest of our year. Now when I say remote, this cabin is so remote that we can't go out to get food. So we have to cook all of our own food at the cabin. Now, I don't have much experience cooking. Me and our siblings and cousins would cook at Christmas cookies with our grandma. And if you were to ask me what my signature dish would be, I would have to say Kraft macaroni and cheese bowls. The shapes. Obviously not the noodles. So, the first day, when we got there that night, my job was to make dessert with our executive director, Miss B. And we were tasked with making our dessert. So we decided to make cupcakes for one of her family recipes. So I listened to all of her instructions, she gave me the ingredients, I made sure to measure them out, and I put them in the bowl. Not hard, except when I began mixing, I had also personally redecorated my corner of the kitchen. So, my goal the first night was to not create a fire. And I did that. The cupcakes turned out great, but they looked a little rough. So, for my next meal, I had to do lunch with my teammate Emma. Now for lunch, we decided to make a pizza. My goal the first night was to not start a fire, so my goal the next time should be to make my presentation just a little bit better. So, when it came to making the pizza, I made sure to listen to all of Emma's instructions and made sure to make the toppings evenly spread across the top of the pizza, even adding in a little smiley face just for a little extra pizzazz. And by the end of it, the pizza turned out great, looked amazing, tasted amazing, and still no fires. So, the final day, I woke up for breakfast and I was tasked with making biscuits and gravy for the rest of the team. So my goals this time were to try to learn a little bit more about the kitchen and the pots and pans within it. So while making biscuits and gravy, I put the biscuits in the oven on the proper pan and made sure to get the perfect pan to make gravy in. Making sure to ask our executive director what the purposes of each utensil were in the kitchen. And by the end of it, the biscuits and gravy looked great, tasted great, and still no fires. But I also learned something along the way too. See, instead of comparing myself to world-class chef Bobby Flay, I focused on where I'd started and where I had gotten. My teammate Philip didn't compare himself to the people in front of him, he focused on his own progress. We focused on our own improvement and growth. When you compare yourself to you, you accomplish two things. Number one, it gives you a positive reinforcement to keep doing what you're doing. But number two, it allows you to value everything you've learned without the distraction of other people knowing more than you. Now, that family that we had mentioned earlier can be one of the most valuable assets when trying to grow. It's a group that helps surround you and support you. It can be the key. The key is to harness that group when trying to grow. And yeah, it's easy to compare yourself to them, saying that you're not as smart, not as funny, not as outgoing or talented as your teammates, but you carry your own skills too. And they admire you for that on their own personal journeys. So when trying something new for the first time, like running for chapter office, use your role models as a motivation and as a guide, but never as the bar. Focus on your improvement and growth. So if you leave here today with the goal to make every tomorrow better than today, those small improvements will add up and make a big difference in time. Because our journey for personal progress is never complete. So if you truly want to become better, don't compare yourself to other people, but compare yourself to who you were yesterday.